Unit J Plus introduces more in-depth concepts and concepts that require a little bit more thinking. So that's why it's important you pay attention and you do know what's going on with these and you ask plenty of questions. You'll see the first part of the practice talks about relative, absolute, and mixed cell references. Now we've covered relative and absolute cell references. A mixed cell reference basically contains both relative and absolute at the same time. The thing you need to remember is there's only going to be either a dollar sign before the column, which is the letter, or before the row, which is the number. And wherever the dollar sign is before, whether it's the column or the row, that is the one that stays constant. So to just give you an example of that, let's take a look at the discount I might get at Kohl's. When I shop there, I always like to get a discount. In fact, if you shop at Kohl's without a discount, shame on you. But for Christmas, I just did some shopping last week and I bought Ella some new pink and purple shoes because why? Every 4-year-old needs pink and purple shoes. But her shoes were on sale for $21.99. And then I bought my husband a household item. It is his Christmas present. It's a drying rack. So please don't tell him what he's getting. He'll be thrilled, I'm sure. But it's because he hangs his clothes everywhere and they need to just go in one spot in our laundry room. Anyway, he's getting that drying rack. Isn't he lucky? And then Ella's getting some new underwear, and because I didn't want to type frozen underwear, because someday she'll be like, oh my gosh, Mom, you actually made a video about that. Anyway, Ella's getting some frozen underwear, but she'll be thrilled because every little kid's thrilled to get new underwear. And then I also bought some sandals that were on sale for $13.49. So I want to see what is my discount amount going to be and then what's my actual cost going to be. So in order to determine my discount, I'm going to start everything with an equal sign. And then I want to figure out my 30% discount. And remember again, the shortcut to make this an absolute cell reference is Command T. And I want to take that times this, which is the cost of my item. So I have the absolute cell reference of C1 times B4, which is the cost of those pink and purple shoes. And I will hit enter and I'll see that my cost is 6.597. Well, I need to format then that as currency, 660, and then I'm going to fill that down and I can see what my discount is. Wow, I have a really good looking discount on that drying rack. That'll be a lot of fun. Now I need to figure out what is my actual cost going to be of this. Now you're thinking, Mrs. Barmeister, I could have just made this 70% and done that. Yeah, I could have done that. But I needed one more column and you needed more time to listen to me. So my actual cost then is going to be the cost of my item minus my discount. Pretty simple to figure out. This is why math is important in your life. You need to know how to figure discounts. So I can figure my actual cost. Now, what if I accidentally waited and I waited until this week to buy stuff and I only have a 20% discount this week? Well, I can change this number in cell C1 and I can make it say 20% instead of 30%. When I hit enter, then it automatically adjusts all of those items. And I would see, gosh, it would really behoove me to make sure I took advantage of my 30% discount instead of my 20% discount. But that's an example of an absolute cell reference coming in. Now, if I wanted to change this just to a mixed cell reference, I would have to just adjust a few items. But a mixed cell reference is not something that's very common. In fact, you won't use a mixed cell reference for any of the major projects you're doing for me, just a little practice that we have coming up. And you will see the practice is right down here. That is about the only place I have you using a mixed cell reference. I just wanted you to be aware of it because chances are if you go into anything with a business related area, you're going to see that. The next concept we're going to talk about is freezing titles. Now, you can freeze titles in any sort of spreadsheet, and when does it come in handy? So when I used to work at the golf course during the summer, we had to keep track of what all of our daily expenses were and what all of our daily profits were, and then we just kept it in a spreadsheet. Now, when does it come in handy? Oh my goodness. If I have a whole bunch of items, let's say I had items way down to here, like in cell A49, well, I wouldn't know what needed to go in each row or in each column because I don't have these row headings available. So when I freeze titles, one thing that's important to remember, you cannot freeze titles if you are in this page layout view. You've got to be in the normal view. Please, please, please remember that or you'll be very frustrated with yourself. And I even put that in the notes, but in case some of you don't read, you know, this is your easy out. So I need to select this row, and then as you can see, to freeze a row or column title, open the window menu and choose, and choose freeze right here. This is to unfreeze, but obviously it'll be the opposite way. So I'm going to go to my window menu, which you can't see totally because it's not on the screen, but trust me, I'm clicking on window, and then you can see to freeze my panes, I'm going to freeze. Oops, got to be in the right cell though, Mrs. Bauermeister. Let's click back here. I need to be in this one because it's going to freeze right above it. I'm going to freeze my pane. So now if I want to go type down here in cell A49, I'll be able to do so, and it lines up nicely. So I could type whatever I needed to. 49 items. I bought a whole bunch of Frozen t-shirts because that's an easy present for anybody basically under the age of 10. They're always singing that crazy song Let It Go. So I bought some shirts that were, I think the boys' shirts actually were $8.99. And then if my discount amount were on there, I would be smart and I would just fill all the way down so I don't have to retype it. I'll fill all the way down to here. And then I could figure out my actual cost, and I'll just quickly do that formula. This one minus C49. So those shirts cost me $7.19, but actually there was another 25% off, but I'm not going to figure that for these purposes. Anyway, so you can see why it's handy to freeze titles, and you generally will probably freeze rows, but sometimes you'll freeze columns. You can freeze rows and columns together. Pretty handy little feature, and it is something that can make your life much easier. So if you needed to leave everybody's names on the side, like for instance when I used to do speech, I kept track of their lettering, and so I would keep the people's names in like column A for instance, and then in column B, I would maybe have what grade they're in. Well, I always wanted that to be constant, and so then I could scroll over from side to side, and I could scroll up and down, and I could still see what my column and my row headings were. It's a very handy feature. And I think that is, financial functions. I'm actually going to teach you separately in class, and I'm not going to do a video unless you have a request for a video that I do, because that's something I think we need to hit really pretty hard, and most of you will need to see that time and time again. So that's all for now. Make sure you tune in to the next video that talks about logical functions, and then it also goes into information about conditional formatting and then also pictures. Thanks for watching.